Hey everyone, this is Amy with Simply Elizabeth Crafts, and I have 2 more cards for you using the Just My Type. I decided that I just could not go without making both these cards, so this week you're getting a total of 5. Don't forget though that if you want Monday's free class, that you can get that free with a $35 purchase before tax and shipping in my online store. In the description of this video, you can find the link with the host code in order to order so that you can get these class packets in the mail. The other thing to that is if you do spend $150 or more, make sure that you take the host code out so that you get your own Stampin' Rewards. When you hit $150, then you get $15 in free products of your choice directly from Stampin' Up. So you want to make sure that if you do 150 or more, you don't have that host code in there, but if it's less, make sure you add that host code in, because that lets me know that you want this class packet sent to you in the mail. All right, let's get started. We are going to do this card right here first, because this one's going to take us a little bit longer to do. I did a lot of the I did the die cutting here, but I really wanted to show you how I did this. So let's grab our card base and let's go ahead and fold it in half. If I can get it lined up evenly there. We'll use our bone folder to give it a good crease. And then we are going to take a piece of basic white, and we are going to just attach it to the inside of our card. So I'm going to grab some adhesive. My drawer is sticking. Let's see if I've got any in this one. I'm running low. All right, so we're going to stick this in. You can always add a couple of those flowers in, which we might when we get to that stamping, but I just wanted to go ahead and put that in there at least. We're going to set that aside for a moment. We're going to pull in our basic white piece. This is a little bit smaller than our inside piece, and I've already embossed it. Well, it's a stitching emboss is what it is, because it's not raising anything, it's just creating holes in it. So I call it stitching embossed, and it's using the Stitched with Whimsy dies. You've got a very large one, but I use this middle one right here, and then of course you've got some smaller ones there as well. This is a really good set, and I, for whatever reason, always forget to use it. All right, so let's create our card here. I'm going to clean that, just make sure I don't have any extra ink on it. I'm going to grab in my foam mat, because we're going to stamp right down onto this piece here. And we're going to do that in some Melon Mambo. And then we're going to stamp it right about here, like that. And that's all we need for the Melon Mambo, so we'll set that aside. We are going to take some basic gray, and we're going to stamp our paper that is going to come out of our typewriter. Now on this sample, I did it so that the paper was up here, but I think I'm going to actually pull it down a little bit so that it's not so tall. And I think it still works because the paper is going to show no matter what level you're at. So like that. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but we'll go with it. If I don't, I'll redo that front piece later. Let's go ahead, since we've got that, we're going to stamp our For You. You know, sometimes stamping is trial and error. All right, so we'll stamp For You there. Now I'm going to leave out the hi because I originally stamped that not really thinking, but I'm going to have hello at the bottom. So I'm just going to leave it with that. All right, I'm going to grab my Petal Pink. I forgot to pull it out, and we're going to stamp these flowers a couple times. We're going to stamp one here. And I did put this up just a little bit higher so that I can have that hello. So we're going to pick another spot maybe right here to do our third flower. And we're going to pull out that basic gray again. We're going to set this aside for just a moment. And we are going to stamp the hello, and we're going to stamp it twice. And you're going to see why when we go and die cut this out. So I'm going to stamp hello, and that one's off a little bit, so that's okay, because we won't need two H's. Make sure I get it good and inked up, and we're going to stamp that one there. All right. Now, I forgot to stamp the flowers on the inside, so let's do that real quick, just so that we've got something there on the inside. And we'll do 3, just right there. All right. Now I'm going to bring in my cut emboss machine, and we're going to bring in the big one, just because my little one is on the other side of the room. All right, so we're going to put this right here. And we're going to use the Stylish Shapes dies, and we're going to use this smallest circle here. Now I have 2 sets because of my classes, so I'm going to pull out 2, which will help us also go a little quicker. So we're going to, and I'm going to grab some tape. And we're going to, I need to get this H here. So we're going to stick that on there. And then we'll do the L. And then we're going to cut this out. And then you're going to see the reason we had to stamp it twice is because that's really close there. So we wouldn't be able to use that one if we cut it out. All right, so now we're going to do this O. And we're going to do this E right here. And I've got Murray underneath my feet. He apparently wants to be a part of the video. All right, and then we just need to do one more. And it's gonna be, I'll put those up so that I don't go losing it. And we're gonna do this L right here. All right. And then that will be it. I'm going to put my little tape right up here because you can still use that a couple more times before you have to throw it away. Sit that over there. All right. Now we're going to take and flip all of these over. We're going to take a dimensional and we're going to do, I'm going to grab a new one because I only have edges left. And we're going to stick these right into the center. And the reason we want to make sure the dimensionals are in the center, or as close to the center as possible, is because we're going to overlap them a little bit to get them all within our stitched area. All right. So now we're going to start by just kind of laying them out to make sure where we're going to put them and how much we need to overlap them. All right, we can spread it out just a little bit more. We'll go right over actually our thing instead of within it. All right. So then we're going to start with our outside pieces, and we're going to lightly lay it down. We don't want to push it all the way down because we don't want it to adhere permanently yet, just in case we have to pick it back up and move it. Now, I'm not necessarily worried about it being completely perfect, but I want it as close as possible. So then we're going to lay that one down, and then we're going to do the L. It takes me a minute. I don't know why. I think I like to be too perfect sometimes. All right, and then we'll stick that one right on over like that. And then there. All right, I'm good with these three right here for sure, so I'm going to push those down. I do want to move this one just a touch like that, and then I think our O is good. All right, so there is our hello. And I think this just made it a little different than just stamping it plain and just having those circles. I really felt like this kind of almost made it look like the actual keys that you pushed in on a typewriter. I know that the stitched part's not necessarily there on typewriters, but I felt like it was the buttons or the keys. They were called keys. Okay, so next we're going to take some linen thread. We're going to tie a bow. And I know I said this on my live, but if you haven't watched my live, when I first went into the work field, I worked for a real estate law firm, and I was the receptionist. Well, I am not a person to sit around and do nothing. So I started asking if there were other things that I could do to help because I was so bored just being a receptionist. And so that's how I worked my way up to being the paralegal that I was. But I was in college when I started working there, and so I started typing packages. Well, back in the day, you got packages overnighted. So it was your closing package was overnighted to the attorney, and I had to fill it in with typewriter. So I had to put in dates and counties and states and all that stuff, and I had to do it with a typewriter. So I'm very familiar with typewriters. And I also used a typewriter when I was in middle school. So, all right, so we're just going to attach that right there. Then we are going to grab our Petal Pink Stampin' Blend, and we are going to, I waited this long to make sure that that ink was fully dry. You could also use your Stampin' Right markers if you wanted to. But I wanted to use the light, no, the dark, because it would give it a little bit of an outline with the flower, but then also, so the colors were a little different. Because, you know, you got a light and a dark with the Stampin' Blend. And I thought I'd grab the light, but nope, it was the dark. And the dark is on my sample too. So, all right, one more. And, okay. And then we're going to take some Daffodil Delight, and this is the light Daffodil Delight. And we're just gonna fill in that center. Ta-da! We will flip this over and we're gonna pull back in our, I'm not gonna color those in, I'm just gonna let those be that way. But we're gonna take our piece here, we're gonna pop it up. So we're gonna grab some dimensionals. And it's okay to put your dimensionals, even though it is adhesive, over these because it's not gonna do anything. You're not gonna have that adhesive stick through or anything since it's dimensional. If it was liquid glue, it would be different. It would seep through those holes, but with the dimensionals, it won't. So you are good to do that. Now I'm gonna stick this on, but I'm actually gonna stick it on at an angle. And then there is our card. I really liked the color, and the hello part is probably my favorite of that card, which is why I could not pick between this one and the other one to do. All right, so let's look at the second one. And I'm going to change this up a little bit because number one, I don't have this embossing folder. There are things that I don't actually have. And I decided to change up the color a little bit. This is the card that I received from Shelly and Sarah for earning the incentive trip. So they put a little note on the inside for us. And so we're going to duplicate it, but we're going to actually use products that I have. I have that circle too, but the circle was actually the layering circles, which you can't get anymore. So I didn't want to do that. All right. So we are going to use a embossing folder from the Basic 3Ds. This is an online exclusive product, so you can only get it online. All right, and I'm going to grab, sorry, I'm reaching over the dog now because he has put himself at my feet. He wants my attention. He wants me to hold him, but I can't while I'm doing the video, right? Okay, so we're going to take a Night of Navy, and we're going to stick it in this Basic 3D embossing folder. And then we're going to stick, now I took off my two number 3s, which are my 2 clear plates, and then I took off my number 2, which is kind of the, it's more of like a filler is what I call it. I'm not really sure if that's what it is. And we're just going to use this gray plate, which is for our embossing, for our thick 3D embossing folders. All right. And then we'll stick this back if I can reach over the dog. So there we go. Now we're going to take and put this flat, so I'm going to use some liquid glue to do that, just because with an embossing folder, this liquid glue will get into your debossed and embossed areas, which will allow it to actually stick to your card base better. I find it works much, much better with the liquid glue on embossing folders pieces. All right, so we're going to flip that over. We're going to stick it right there. Okay, then we are going to take our circle, and I used those stitched shapes or stylish shapes again, and I used the next to the largest stitch circle. We are going to take our flower. We're going to stamp it in Night of Navy. And we're going to stick it right up here, like that. Then we're going to take our inside piece, so I cut a piece for the inside as well. And we're going to stamp there. We're going to let that dry for just a second, and while that dries, we are going to take our thank you, and we're going to stamp that in Night of Navy as well. And we're going to stick it right down here on the bottom, right there. We all can use some good thank you cards, right? Okay, now I'm going to pull in my punch. This is the Happy Labels punch, and we are going to use that to create our piece to go behind our stitch circle. So we're going to stick this in. And sometimes the easiest way to see your punches is to flip it over, because then you know that you're lining it up exactly where you want it. And we're going to take it and flip it around and do it again on the other side. And I'm going to look at it to get it pushed in. And then we're going to line it up, and ta-da. All right. And I think that is perfect. We're going to take this, put adhesive on the back. We can actually, you could do liquid glue on this one too if you wanted. But be careful, because anytime you have foil paper and you get glue on it, it will smudge, and there is no return from that. It is very hard to get it. And see, I got a little bit right there. So it just smears. That's all it does. All right, we're going to take this and place this on the inside. line it up. All right, and now we're going to take and color in our flowers here. And we're not going to do a whole lot. We're going to do exactly how they did it. We're going to take and color in and I'm leaving a little bit of white on this one. Okay. Then we are going to take Daffodil Delight and we are going to color in here. Now I have not actually, we're going to use let's use the other side. It'll be a little easier. There we go. I have not replaced my Stampin' Right markers because my Stampin' Right markers work perfect, but there are new Stampin' Right markers where the fine tip side is different. So it almost looks like a fine tip brushed in instead of what we currently have, but mine are perfect. So I do have the ones that are the new colors that are that way, but my old ones I've just kept the way they are for now. All right, so we've got that done. If it works, don't replace it, or you know, what is it? If it's not broke, don't fix it. So we're gonna take some dimensionals and we're gonna pop up this onto our card base. I don't use my Stampin' Right markers very often, so I replace my black ones more than I do anything else because I use it a whole lot. All right, so there is card number 2, and I like this one just as much as I like the red one, or Poppy Parade. Just, you know, changing it up a little bit with the things that you got. And that's one thing with cards. If you ever see cards that you don't have exactly what the person who's creating the video has, you can always swap it out. Use your creativity and make it your own as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed these 2 additional cards. Don't forget, you can get the class packet from Monday's Live for free with a $35 purchase. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me by email, and my email is in the description of this video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Monday with a new live. Bye, y'all.